Give it a second here. All right. All right, all right. Well, welcome, welcome, world changers. Good to see y'all. I have a very special guest with me here, Pastor Artur Pawlowski, and we're going to be talking about some very, very important things. As some of you may have known, Pastor Artur has been going through a lot of persecution and opposition in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So, without any further ado, welcome, Pastor Artur.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, thank you for coming. So, could you please introduce yourself and let everybody know where you're, who you are, and what you do?
Well, I'm a pastor in the city of Calgary. Originally, we came from Poland. We escaped from behind the Iron Curtain in the late 80s, beginning of the 90s. And we escaped to Greece through Turkey, believe it or not. Out of all the places, we spent 5 years in Greece until the Canadian government opened its borders for us. And like I quite often tell Canadian people about what happened. We met with the officer in Canadian embassy in Athens, and I'll never forget that interview. The officer told us to sell everything that we have. We had very successful businesses in Greece and to come to Canada. They said Canada is the freest country on earth. Come to Canada. In Canada, no one will ever persecute you for your faith. And here we are, over 120 court cases, over 360 citations, and multiple arrests. I mean, I was charged criminally for everything you can imagine, and I was arrested for the most incredible things that you would ever imagine, including I was charged with terrorism for a peaceful sermon to the truckers and the farmers during the biggest attack on our freedom and on our health in the history of our beloved Canada. So I'm a father, I'm a husband, and we got 3 children, and we are still doing what we have been doing for the past 30 years, which is our main ministry is feeding the homeless and taking care of the most vulnerable people in our society. We feed thousands of people multiple times a week for many, many years. And believe it or not, it was that ministry that has been attacked over and over and over again. And during the big lie, as I call it, the past 5 years, it was the Canadian government that declared at the beginning of 2020. I don't know if you remember, but I have become the first Canadian to get a COVID ticket. So they came to our church mission, the soup kitchen, and they announced that we're in the middle of this, whatever, I won't even mention it, the lie, and that I have to stop feeding the poor. Of course, I disagreed because I told them, I said, listen, people, you don't make any sense. If we are truly in the middle of this crisis, then our services are needed now more than ever. If you're going to shut down shelters and soup kitchens, what do you think is going to happen to 15 to 20,000 different individuals facing homelessness on the streets of Calgary? They're going to turn to crime. They're going to break into houses, garages, cars, grocery stores. I mean, what do you think those people will do? They will fight for their lives. Let me feed them. And perhaps, hopefully, they're not going to hurt anybody during this crisis. Of course, as you know, the Canadian government disagreed. I appealed it to the mayor, I appealed it to the premier, I appealed it to his ministers. They did not care. They did not care. And instead, they sent the police, bylaw services, and health inspectors. And I end up with the first COVID ticket. They did a big scene. They did a press conference with the chief of police. And from that moment on, 2020, it was an ongoing, nonstop game of intimidation, harassment, tickets. I received in 2020 tickets worth millions of dollars. I was threatened with arrest multiple times. And I don't know if you remember, but at that time, Canadian government canceled Christmas. I don't know if you remember that time when all the levels of government, federal, provincial, and municipal, came on television, and they just a few weeks before invited people, children, to have a great time during the Halloween. But a few weeks later, the same people went on television and they said, "We have to regret, but we're canceling Christmas. No one is allowed to have families. You cannot even have a coffee with your brother. We're going to send the police monitoring your driveways. If we see extra cars, the police will break the doors and arrest you all." So at that time, I invited all my family, my friends, as many as I could fit in my home, and we did a dinner. I took pictures and I sent to the devil and I said, "Come and get me." And then, of course, as you remember, I invited people to the biggest Christmas celebration in the country. And I didn't know at that time, but thousands of people showed up. We had gifts for the homeless, and we were doing barbecues and great time. And I think I broke some kind of a record because we had over 120 police officers, 20 cops on bicycles, 54 police vehicles at our church service, chief of police, anti-terrorist, and special SWAT team that came. And according to them, the chief of police came as well. According to them, I did the unthinkable because at that time, I don't know if you remember, but the Canadian government outlawed singing. Singing was prohibited by law, and also they outlawed Lord's Supper. So, according to them, I endangered the entire city. I was told that I'm a grandpa killer, grandma destroyer, that the whole community is going to collapse and everyone will die because I hired carolers and we had Lord's Supper and we were eating with the homeless. And I end up with 15 tickets worth millions of dollars. So that was my 2020. Every single time I was doing ministry, I was followed by the police, detectives, helicopters, marked police cars, cruisers, unmarked police cars with police officers inside. So that was my life for 20, in 2020. And then 2021 came, and as you remember, at that time they fenced with their cars. They blocked our church and prohibited our parishioners from attending the church service. So they had to go and park in another parking lot, and they came to the church. And it took us a while to fend off those hyenas, and then they came with a telescopic cameras taking pictures of our women and children. And then the famous April of 2021 came when authorities decided to break the Criminal Code of Canada, Section 176, 1, 2, and 3, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, our Constitution, and they barged into a church service with their pistols and tasers and handcuffs and uniforms. It was police, it was bylaw services, it was health inspectors, and some other people that we could not identify. And at that time, it was our holiest time of the year, was Passover celebration. And the only thing I had for those people was get out. Get out, your Nazis. Get out, your psychopaths. You have no right. Don't you dare coming back here without a warrant. So they leave. I put the video on social networks, and it just went crazy after that because this was the number one played video on earth, over 1 billion views during that weekend. And I received so many invitations to do media. I remember it was after the service when I turned my cell phone on, it was like hundreds of invitations to talk to the media. And I said to my wife, I don't know what I have done. Like, what did I do? I mean, I don't remember what I did because I had so many interactions with the authorities during that time, like every day. I didn't know why this one actually went viral. But um, what happened was people around the world were under this blanket of terror and fear for so long that they didn't know what to do. And here is a Polish immigrant with a funny accent that simply articulated what was in people's hearts, which is get out of my school, get out of my family, get out of my home, get out of my parliament, get out of my church. Like, who do you people think you are? Just get out, you evil, wicked psychopaths. And I'll never forget that day, of course, because I paid dearly for this. Um, but I remember that sermon that God gave me before those people came. I was preparing for weeks for Passover celebration, Easter, and the title of the message was Pharaoh, let my people go. So when those people showed up, it was kind of came out of me, just get out, I don't want to talk to you, just get out, you wicked evil people. So they leave. But as you remember, 3 weeks later, after I've done thousands of shows, they came back. They found crooked judges. The first one was David Gates of Alberta, and I don't know if he's related to the American devil Bill Gates, but David Gates of Alberta gave them the power to enter our church with whomever they wanted to, anytime they wanted to. So they showed up with SWAT team. Can you believe it? Anti-terrorists came to a peaceful assembly, to a pastor that has no criminal record, has never been violent, never charged or arrested for any violence, and they sent SWAT team. And then later they found another crooked judge, boss of judges, associate chief justice, a so-called justice, because now we know it's a joke. Those people are mafia. The most, the biggest criminals they are is the government right now in our country. So they found Judge John Rook the Crook, as I call him. John Rook the Crook gave them the power to arrest anyone that would dare to oppose them. And stepping out of the church with my brother David, driving back home, we got arrested in the middle of the highway on our knees. We were assaulted, manhandled, and I was transferred to prison upside down with my head on the ground and feet, on the roof. And we spent 3 days and 2 nights on concrete, lights so bright, and every half hour police would come and bang on the doors just to make sure we can sleep. So 3 days and 2 nights. And on Monday, we face another crooked judge, Adam Germain. Adam Germain, I don't know who gave him what, but he started the proceedings. And you got to understand, we were taken to court shackled like animals. You know, the penguin walk, legs, the whole 9 yards. It was unbelievable. We were taken to prison like the most dangerous, like Al Capone of Canada. And we faced that judge shackled. And he started the proceedings by quoting CBC and CNN that we're in the middle of this pandemic, blah, 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 And I turned to my brother David. I said, he's not a judge. This is a political activist. He was told what to do with us, and we don't stand a chance. And I was right. At that time, I decided to go to United States and warn my American brothers and sisters about what's coming to them if they will not rise up and stand up, because we're truly, I told them, we are starting to live once again behind the Iron Curtain. I mean, this is incredible what those people are getting away with. So put your house in order, Christians in America, because you are next if you don't rise up. And of course, I was right. And I remember telling my brother David and the American people at that time that Adam Germain was told to find us guilty. This is a show trial. They are looking for a show. They want to scare the rest of the people, and they're going to use us to scare others. And I was right, because I spent 4 months touring around the United States, and speaking to the media and attending different rallies and meeting with the Trump's family and other people, telling them, look, we have been infiltrated by China. We got Chinese soldiers on our ground being trained by Canadian armed forces. This is bad. We've lost media. There is no such a thing as independent media anymore. They all are propaganda machinery. We are in a big trouble. We have been taken all over. Canada has fallen. So rise up, because if you don't do it, they will finish you as well. Well, I was thinking of spending a couple weeks in the States, but uh, but the response was so unbelievable that I kept receiving invitation after invitation after invitation, and instead of just being there for a few weeks, I spent 4 months in the States. And upon arrival, stepping out of the plane, I don't know if you remember, I was arrested by customs on the tarmac. I mean, this was crazy stuff. I stepped out of the plane and I was immediately arrested and charged criminally. And the charges were straight from the Soviet Russia. I was charged with inciting people to come to church. I was charged criminally for officiating an illegal gathering. I was charged criminally for participating in illegal gathering. I was charged criminally for baptizing my daughter in a river in a public park. I was charged criminally for not wearing a muzzle, taken by the police. Police officers were hiding in a customs building because I had hundreds of people coming to welcome me back to Canada. We had the media, and they hid themselves in a customs building, preventing people from coming near. I was taken, like in a secret way, to the police cruiser, taken to prison, and charged with those unbelievable charges. So that was my 2021, in and out of jail, multiple arrests by RCMP for Americans, brothers and sisters like your FBI. I was arrested multiple times in a highway, attending a rally. They were just looking for anything they can cook up. I was arrested even for going to Canada Post to retrieve my registered mail. Can you believe it? You receive from the government a registered mail. They're telling you that you're the only one that can pick it up from this location. You go to the location. The manager of Canada Post recognizes me from the news, refuses to give me my mail, which is a criminal crime in Canada. It's a theft of a protected, letters are protected by the federal court and federal laws. And instead of arresting them, I contacted the police and I said, listen, she stole my mail. I want it back. Can you help me to retrieve it? And I want to go after those people that are thieves. So the police shows up, talk to the manager. Everything is filmed. They take my registered mail, give it back to me. And instead of charging the thief, they charged me with trespassing and arrested me and charged me criminally for criminal harassment. I said, that was my life 2021. It was absolute craziness. And then the truck convoy came. I don't know if you want me to kind of narrate how the timelines were going, or you want to, you want me
Yes.
to stop right now and ask you
No.
questions if you
Yeah,
like.
please go ahead.
So that was my 2020 constant harassment. 2021 arrests and tickets. During that time, I received, I think, about 50, 60 tickets, and I was in and out of court, in and out of jail with my brother David and other people. They've arrested my associate pastor multiple times. They were sending people with telescopic cameras. They were sending police, SWAT team, bylaw services, health inspectors. So this was 2021 on a regular, like this was my life. Everywhere I would show up, I would be followed by armed police officers. And sometimes there would be six, eight, sometimes there were 20, 30 police. And like I told you, the record is 100, I don't know, it was 150, 160 police officers during the Christmas celebration with the SWAT team and anti-terrorists. Now, 2022 stands up. my uh, my welcoming the year, if you will, with my brother David of 2022 was the 1st of January 2022. We got arrested in the middle of the highway coming from a peaceful assembly. In the middle of the highway, in the middle of snow, we got charged with ridiculous charges. And I remember my brother David was taken to one cruiser, I was taken to another cruiser, and the police officers were talking between themselves and they were saying, "Oh, we're going to charge him with this, and let's charge him with that as well. And we're going to charge with," like they were making stuff up. As I was sitting there, handcuffed like an animal, they were making the crimes. They were thinking, what can we charge him with? What can we push it to make it stick? The level of corruption, I've never, even in communism, I have never seen the level of corruption that we witnessed in the past few years, coming from the politicians, coming from the judges, coming from the mainstream media propaganda, coming from the crown prosecutors that have no problems manipulating and lying. In 2022, after we were released on bail, as you remember, the trackers started to roll. I received a phone call. At that time, I was called Canada's pastor because I was flying all over this country. I was doing church services at the parliament. I was doing a different Supreme Courts in different provinces, rallies nonstop. This city, that city, this province, that province. I mean, I was like exhausted. We were everywhere. We did our best to awaken the people because you got to remember that for people like me, immigrants, this is a crazy situation because we escaped police state, we escaped dictatorship, we escaped this. We came to Canada for peace, for freedom, and those that were born here, it was very hard for the born Canadians on the soil to understand what was really going on. But for us, it was no brainer. We could see it right away at the very beginning of 2020. I remember I went on television and I said, "This is exactly what we remember growing up behind the Iron Curtain under the boots of Soviets, under the boots of communism and socialism. This is a repetition of history. Canadians, pay attention because even the wording they're using is identical to the one that I remember: illegal gathering, protest outlawed, and all those different things you hear. It was like straight from the book, How to Become a Tyrant. Copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. So we were very loud. And at this moment, beginning of 2022, I was very well known. I was all over the news, international news. I was doing rallies, and we had 20,000 people showing up every single week in the city of Calgary and tens of thousands in other cities around. So the movement was growing. And when the trackers called me, they asked me if I would become their pastor. And of course, they did not have to ask me for that. It was a greatest honor. I consider this to this day a greatest honor that I was able to be part of the track convoy and conduct, series of church services for the hurting Canadians. So as they start rolling, we did multiple church services for them. Our church raised truckloads of food. We raised money, and they came to Calgary. We've done multiple church services for them, and off they went to Ottawa. And I was supposed to go with them. However, the movement here in Alberta was so big and the support was huge, and we didn't want to lose this. So instead of going to Ottawa, I wanted to keep the movement going here so we can support the truckers and raise funds for gasoline and for food and other things. So one leg went to Ottawa, another one went to Milk River and Coutts. Well, Coutts is a point of entry between Montana and Alberta. And the farmers and the truckers decided to put some pressure on the provincial government right here, because at that time the so-called conservative government, because you got to understand, we don't have a conservative government in Canada anymore. All those so-called conservative governments are liberal governments. There is very little difference between NDP, which I called communist, and the Socialist Party, and the Nazi Party. I call them the liberals. and the conservatives are almost identical. Those people are doing the same thing, they're standing for the same evil things. So we do not have in power a conservative government. So our own, in quote, conservative government arrested more pastors than the Chinese government during that timeline. So we wanted to put the pressure on Jason Kenney. Jason Kenney is a flip-flopping politician that promised that he will never lock us up. He did. He said, I'll never implement the Nazi passport, as we call it. 2 weeks later, he did. Everything he promised he's not going to do, he did and more. On top of that, when he was locking, arresting, and fencing churches and arresting pastors, he partied, hardcore partied. For example, at the Sky Palace, which he was caught red handed, drinking whiskey, having food party, no social distancing, no muzzles, nothing. It's like the pharaohs of today that look at you and me and we are just slaves to them. They are the elites and they can do whatever they want. That was the conservative government. And they still are doing the same thing. They have not changed. You know, one law for me, one law for thee is the saying. That's exactly what we have right now. In Canada, they pretty much can get away with murder, and they do, and there is really nothing we can do about it. So we were putting pressure in Milk River and Coods, and I remember this phone call I received. Rallies were growing again. 20,000 people were showing up every week. The momentum was there, the support was huge. The whole nation was hopeful, and not just the nation, around the world people were looking, paying attention what is happening in Canada, and they were getting courage to do the same thing. So little convoys started in many countries, and then it was growing and growing, and Australia was rising up, and England and France and Poland and United States did their track convoy. So the momentum was there, and I received a phone call, and I was told, Pastor, can you come to Milk River and Coods, because there are police officers dressed in black with machine guns pointing them at our children playing street hockey, and people are really depressed. Can you come and cheer them up? So I packed the car. I took my worshiper, speakers, food, my son Nathaniel, and off we went to Milk River. Milk River was completely blocked by the RCMP. I don't know how many police vehicles were there. Many. The whole thing was completely seized, blocked. So we could not go to Coots because of the blockade. So I decided to do a church at the Milk River. And there was thousands of people. And I want you to understand what I saw, because you have seen the news, you've heard the lies, what the truck convoy was all about. I'm telling you, I've never seen more peaceful assembly of people in my entire life. Those Canadians that came from all backgrounds, all colors, and all religions. They came together as Canadians. They were loving each other, praying with each other, singing songs, making food. Someone brought barbecue, someone brought pizza, other person was cooking chili. They brought fire pits because it was minus 30 in Alberta, bouncy houses. They brought horses, cats, dogs. I mean, it was like family coming together. It was the most incredible thing I have ever seen in Canada. The love, people were crying, hugging each other. It was so beautiful, it was so peaceful. So I did the church service for them. We had Lord's Supper, we were singing hymns. I gave a little bit of a message, and the RCMP was there. They were filming us, they were taking pictures, but I have nothing to hide. To this day, I live stream my church services. I'm a preacher, and I will tell you to your face, in front of all the cameras on earth, that God is bigger than all of the people combined together. That one day justice will be served. That the truth is more powerful than the lie. And that I have seen this in history, and we will win eventually. We will win eventually. So I finished one service in Milk River, which is about 12, 14 kilometers from Coots, from the point of entry. And I went to the RCMP and I said, listen, I would like to do another church service in Coots. Will you open the barricade for us? And you know what? They did. They did. They opened the barricade and they let me with our worshiper with food. We brought food for them. We brought some money for gasoline. And they opened the barricade and we went to Quds uninterrupted. We were taken to a saloon, Smuggler's Inn was called. It's like a restaurant in Quds. And there was hundreds of people over there. And I did another church service. So you've got private property, peaceful assembly of people, and a pastor telling them, hey, stay peaceful. No guns and no swords. Three times during my sermon, I reminded the hurting Canadians not to be violent. This is not a violent uprising. We have more power than all of the police officers combined together. And we can paralyze their system by simply refusing to cooperate with them, like the Polish people did. And I had a hoodie that said Solidarity Movement, because you got to remember, I grew up in a country and with my own eyes, I saw the power of the general strike. I saw the power of the solidarity movement with Lech Wałęsa in 80, 81, and 82. I saw the thousands upon thousands of people taking it to the streets, and they did it with a cross, and they did it with singing hymns, they did it with Jesus, and they were peaceful. So that's pretty much what I was telling Canadian people. Stay peaceful. They don't have enough police officers to arrest us all. There's more of us than them. Do not cooperate with them. Let's paralyze their system by refusing to work for those people. They think they're pharaohs. Well, we will show them who has more Pharaoh or the people. And that's pretty much what I said. I said, with God we win. I had a hoodie that said solidarity, and in the back it says, with God we win. And we went to our knees. I prayed for the people. We had Lord's Supper. We were singing hymns. We had a dinner together. Nothing really crazy. A normal church service with the hurting people. And it was recorded, was posted on social media. There was police there, not a big deal. No one stopped us, no one harassed us. We went back to Milk River. We ate with the people there, and then we went back home. Saturday, we had another 20,000 people rally. Sunday, we had another big rally in, I think it was High River outside of Calgary, big one. Park was completely full with people. And I remember I told the people, remember their names, remember the names of the villains, because one day we will revisit this. And one day we're going to go after those people for what they have done to us. And it was all peaceful, no problems. Tuesday, I was supposed to go back to Coots with some resources and food and donations. And I stepped out of my house, and I'm telling you, I've never seen something like this before. This was truly a takedown of El Chapo of Calgary. There was every force in the country that was there. It was detectives, undercover police. I didn't know, but later we did find out that they were parked outside monitoring me 24 hours, 7 days a week. Undercover police with their undercover vehicles. There was anti-terrorist, special SWAT team with cameras. They were Calgary uniformed police officers. They were Calgary undercover. They blocked the entire street with their cruisers. I'm telling you, it looked like a Hollywood production. Police everywhere running towards me. Mr. Pawlowski, you're under arrest. And it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. I was taken to the police by RCMP, um, interrogated by RCMP, I don't know how long, all day long, for many, many hours, and then taken stripped naked, taken to prison. And I find out that I was charged with terrorism. I have become the first Canadian ever to be charged with this crime. I was charged for delivering a peaceful sermon. During that sermon, I told them not to be violent, but to stay peaceful. And for that, I was charged with terrorism, interfering with the crucial infrastructure under the Defense Act. I was charged with mischief over 5,000, breach of probation, and I was facing 12 and a half years of imprisonment. When I was already in prison, other charges came. criminal charges, criminal disturbance, and other crazy charges. So I had many charges. I think 30, 40 charges during that time when I was held captive by the biggest mafia that there is. Stephen Johnston. Stephen Johnston is a crown prosecutor from the special unit under the watchful eyes of the so-called conservative government that accused me during my bail hearing of causing Canadian economy over $400 million worth of damages for my sermon to the truckers. He lied, he cheated, he manipulated. He called me dangerous. He says if I'm released, the whole country will collapse. I mean, it was a gong show. It was crazy. During the when he was lying, I said to the judge that this is a lie. This is like a show trial straight from Soviet Russia. The judge got so upset that she kicked me out from my own proceedings. I was not allowed to talk. And on top of that, my wife wanted to be part of the proceedings. Well, her husband, children, right? It's an open court concept. And she said, I want to be there because at that time it was all Zoom. So it was not in person, it was on Zoom. And she says, I want to be on a Zoom. I want to listen. I want to see the proceedings. And the judge said, no. If you want to know what happened, you can listen to CBC. Can you believe it? Those are crooks. Those are not judges. They're crooks. They are corrupted to the core. Stephen Johnston, the crown prosecutor, is a manipulator and a liar. And he was the one that was assigned by the conservative government to go after political dissidents. So all the people from that era that are still imprisoned, the Quds boys and the politician Marco van Hugebos that was charged and imprisoned for being with the people and advocating for the people in a lawful way, imprisoned, just came out from prison. Other boys are still in prison. They received 6 and a half years of imprisonment. So this is the crown prosecutor. He was accused of colluding with the RCMP. We have the proof that he did, and the judge sealed it. He says, no, I'm not allowing this evidence to ever see the light of the day. So this is what we're dealing with. Anyway, what happened in prison, I documented it in my book, Lions Do Not Bow. I wrote the book. So in a way, I should be grateful to those villains for what they've done to me because they locked me in a solitary confinement. And I don't know if you had the privilege of spending time in solitude, but it's hell on earth. I mean, it's a torture because there's nothing to do. You're in a box. They would keep me in metal cages. I was kept in multiple metal cages for no reason. A cage no bigger than a man sitting. You can't stretch. You cannot move. You're half dead. You're suffocating. You're sweating. You don't have enough oxygen to breathe. You're passing out in and out of consciousness. So I was kept in multiple cages like this and back into solitary confinement. My Bibles were confiscated. My write ups were taken. I was denied access to my lawyers for 3 weeks. I mean, it's unbelievable story because it's 500 pages, but it tells you everything day by day what happened, and I will have to talk for hours and hours to tell you what happened in prison. 5 inmates testified to my lawyers that the guards were giving them incentives to murder me in prison, and they refused. The I don't know if you remember, before I was arrested, they lit my house on fire with my children sleeping. So they wanted to burn us to the ground. They wanted to murder us that way. I had Antifa breaking into our property. I had church vandalized for 3 months. They tried to burn our church down. They managed only to burn the children's bus to the ground. Our church was vandalized and broken into, our equipment stolen, cameras stolen, speakers multiple times. Also, they unscrewed tire in our pickup truck, trying to murder us when we were driving a truck, and the tire just took off on its own in the middle of the road. So I was physically attacked. All kinds of things were happening. So in prison, they tried the same thing, the authorities, but the inmates refused. They said, we're not touching this man. He's a hero. So I really had the backing and the support of those inmates. Everywhere I showed up, they would recognize me. They would be banging on the door, "Free Pastor Art." It was incredible. I was so popular that the sheriffs came. I think it was 45th day or 44th day of solitary confinement and metal cages and concrete cell treatment. Concrete cell treatment was every day when the guards would come, take me from my solitary confinement with bed and water and washroom, and would take me to a concrete cell. A concrete cell is like a tank cell, except it doesn't have the water and doesn't have washroom. So you're sitting literally on concrete, hard benches, all concrete, and there is nothing you can do. Like you're in a little box on concrete. So I got that treatment on a regular basis. And then I was asked to go to a guard came and said, "I want you have a visitor," and I knew that they're cooking something. So I was literally kidnapped by the sheriffs, shackled like animal, taken to a box, and taken hundreds of miles away, without the knowledge of my legal counselors and knowledge of my family. I was kidnapped by sheriffs to Maxpot. The Maxpot is in Edmonton, and this is a place for the most dangerous terrorists. And I received a document, and that's why I encourage people to read the book, because it's a crazy complex story with many twists. But in the book, you will be able to see a document that I received. And by the way, here are the papers I wrote the book. My manuscript I wrote on a pieces of papers in prison that the inmates would be sliding under my door, and it's request forms, a different request forms that I would write everything I was observing, the background story, the get out video, why I was arrested, my interactions with the authorities, politicians, media, and all those different background things are in the book. All the arrests, what happened during the arrests, how the police was torturing us, and transferring me upside down, all those things are in the book. And in the document, here is my arrest on the tarmac, stepping out of the plane when the customs arrested me. So the document stated that they can keep me in Maxpot. Again, Maxpot is a prison wing for the most dangerous terrorists. Freezing conditions, you're shivering. It's minus 28 outside and is as cold as on the inside. I asked for the blanket, and the guard came and laughed in my face and said, "At least you have fresh air," and walked away. I received a document that said that they can keep me there indefinitely, that I am considered the most dangerous terrorist in the country, to a point that I am not even allowed to have a pen. Because you got to remember, they saw me writing. This book was confiscated by the Canadian authorities already 3 times, and they blocked this book from crossing the border. So we had to bypass the customs and go directly from the printer. That's how much they're scared of me telling you what's in the book. So anyway, back to the story. I realized that I'm probably not coming home. So I called my wife. I was allowed of my cell for 30 minutes to take a shower and call. So I called my wife and I said, "I think this is it. It's so cold. I'm freezing. I can't sleep. I cannot function. I think you're going to have a phone call that I died of, heart attack or some kind other failure." And that will be the end of the story, because I don't think physically I can make it. I was very thin. I have been fasting for weeks, so I was very fragile at this moment, and I said my goodbyes. I said, "I think that's the end of the story. I don't think I'm going to make it." And I was guarded by 3 guards, and I was the only inmate. So imagine I'm in a max spot. It's a big wing, iron and bulletproof glass. So you are in a freak show. It's like a matrix, and you are alone, locked on the last cell on top, third floor, and you're being constantly watched by three guards, and you cannot have any interaction with human being. You're considered the most dangerous, and you got a document that they say they will keep you here indefinitely. My wife did the right thing. She calls the lawyer. She tells what's going on. Lawyer sends a letter to the judge. Judge reads the letter the next morning. That scares the remand center, because remand center is a privately owned prison. So that scared them. And the next day I was taken from MaxPod to a psych ward. I spent a week with a schizophrenic that chopped his brother to pieces with a machete, and without the evaluation of the doctors and without even the knowledge of Alberta Health Services, completely illegal, Soviet style. That's why I call them the Nazis and the communists, because they're doing exactly what the Nazis did, exactly what the communists did. Communists dealt with the political dissidents by locking them in mental institutions and drugging them up. In the Remand Center in Calgary and in the Remand Center in Edmonton, twice a day, inmates are being given for free highly addictive narcotics. And you would think that narcotics are being smuggled to prison by inmates, right? Hollywood productions, and it's a big deal. In Canada, no. The drugs are being given to the inmates twice a day by guards and nurses. Guards and nurses are giving narcotics, highly addictive narcotics, to inmates twice a day. I saw them snorting, I saw them selling, buying drugs. All kinds of things are happening, all with a blessing of government and funded by taxpayers' money. So I realized that the whole system is a revolving door. They're hooking the inmates with highly addictive narcotics. Then they are being released. They go to the streets. They need the drugs. They go back to the crime because they're very expensive, and they are back in the remand center. It's a never ending river of money, flow that never ends, ensures them that they will always be at capacity. And that's the system in Canada right now. The so-called healthcare system, prison system, so-called justice system, all is homelessness is all corrupted to the core. So I spent a week with a guy, and the funny part of this is that you got to remember I was considered the most dangerous inmate in the country. I was not allowed to have a pen. I mean, if I had a pen, someone would die. So I'm being taken against the law to a prison with a schizophrenic, a psych ward. I walk in and I see about 15 pens and pencils on a little table. So I said to him, I am considered so dangerous, I cannot have a pen. And he looks at me and says, well, you can have mine. So he gives me his pen, and I kept writing the book. And as you know, the book was confiscated multiple times. We managed to get it back. And then eventually I sent it to America, and American publishers published the book. Is right now available, Amazon.com for the world, and for Canadians, Amazon.ca. And I think they even have free shipping if you order the book. Lions Do Not Bow on Amazon.ca. Eventually, the judge learns what is happening to me, releases me on bail, and I spend a year and a half on house arrest. I faced the judge, another crooked judge, Gordon Krinky, that was especially assigned by the government to preside over this case. He finds me guilty on everything. And Adam Germain, remember the judge before? He found us guilty as well. And we have become the first Canadians to be given something that they called a compelled speech order, which is the judge Adam Germain ordered us to recite government approved script every time we talk to anyone, which is completely illegal. Even in China, maybe in China, North Korea, Russia, they're doing stuff like this, but it's completely illegal. And I remember I said to the judge, I will never obey your order. And you know what happens when the judge gives you an order? You can be found in contempt of court order. But I said, you can arrest me anytime you want. I'm not going to obey this order. I am a pastor and I tell people the truth. You want me to lie to the people, and I refuse. So we got arrested later on and taken to jail. But the Gordon Crinky found me guilty on everything, including terrorism. And it's quite a fascinating part of the story, because when I was convicted of terrorism, a month later, this lying crown prosecutor, the manipulator Stephen Johnston, and there is a big chapter about this guy, how crooked he is. There is a picture of this guy as well. So if you want to know how the devil looks like, well, you can see it in a book. He Month later, he withdraws the charge of terrorism. So they take me to the ringer. I'm already 2 years in jail, house arrest and imprisonment. And then after the conviction, he withdraws that charge, because we said we're going to challenge this with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, uh, a charter challenge, and he withdraws the charge and he leaves mischief over 5,000 and a breach of probation. And I was facing at that time 12 and a half years of imprisonment. Gordon Cranky looks at me and he says, I can put you to prison for 12 and a half years. And then he stops the proceedings. He says, I need to consult this with others. We don't know who those others were. He comes back and he says, you're free to go. Time served. During the house arrest, I was approached probably about 10 times by different government officials or operatives. I was offered from the government. I was offered $2 million to shut my mouth. I was offered a guaranteed seat at the legislature. I was offered a government job, $250,000 a year, and all kinds of other perks were offered to me if I will just shut up. And I refused. So after about 8 months of attempted bribery by Daniel Smith and conservative government, Daniel Smith took over Jason Kenney, but she's as corrupted as Jason Kenney. And her government is still the same government, the same people that arrested us and imprisoned us during this big lie. So um, after they realized that I'm not for sale, then they started to send people that call themselves political fixers. I don't know if you're familiar with the term. Political fixer is someone that works bribery, blackmail, all kinds of different things for the politicians or political party. Political fixers will approach you, will threaten you, will try to bribe you or scare you. So for 3 months, I was working, dealing with political fixers that were coming from Stephen Harper, which used to be our prime minister, Jason Kenney, and believe it or not, Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre was supposed to be the next prime minister. He lost the election just a few months ago. So those men sent the political fixers to scare me. They said the judge, Gordon Crinky, is bought and paid for. He was told to lock you up. You will be assassinated in prison. We will make sure you will never come out if you don't back away. So what they asked me to do was, you have to withdraw yourself for at least 2 years from political realm, or you will not come out of prison. So that was what we were facing, and I declined. I said, well, then assassinate me, but I will not stop telling people the truth. I'll still fight you to the death. And that's exactly what I did. I faced the judge. The pressure at that time was so huge. I was very popular around the world. I kind of become a symbol of freedom, especially in America. I had very powerful friends there, including the Trump's family. So I think the political pressure worked, the tens of thousands of phone calls and emails to different government officials. So I think that's why they let me out. However, what they did, they completely shadow banned me. Like, I mean, I am not only the probably the most hated man in Canada, but also it's very difficult for me to tell the story, to let the people know what really happened. That's why I wrote the book, because I can tell you only 0.1% of what happened, but the book has details, the politics behind it, and all kinds of different things that people never hear because the government doesn't want you to know who are the players, what they attempted, who they used, how powerful they are, what was offered. And it's kind of a fascinating story, including all those arrests and imprisonments and what happened to us. As comes, as far as what is happening now, we never stop feeding the poor. So that's what we're doing. That's our main ministry. We feed the poor. We feed thousands of people on the streets of Calgary. And I still pastor a local church in the city of Calgary, and I still travel around sharing what is happening in our beloved nation, which now more often we call China, because this nation more and more acts just like the Chinese Communist government. So if it comes to the book, the Canadian government blocked my book for a month and a half. We had a very hard time to get it on Amazon so the people would be able to buy it. But now it's on Amazon. They do everything in their power to destroy us financially. You have to understand that the way they're dealing with political dissidents is the process becomes the punishment. They're draining your resources, they're destroying you financially, they're hammering you with nonsense charges, they're prolonging, they are making stuff up, they're throwing roadblocks. And that's what they're doing with me. I'm suing them for what they've done to me. And they are piled up together the resources, and they are facing us in court. And every time we meet them in court, they're pushing it. Oh, we don't agree with this. We need another judge to rule on this. Oh, we don't agree on that. We need to postpone. We need more info. So that game is, let's drain him from his resources. Because you got to understand that the villains, the modern day Nazis in Canada, they have unlimited resources because they are using taxpayers' money. So it doesn't cost them anything. It's their job, like another day in the office for them. But for us, I have to crowdfund, which is not easy because I'm shadow banned. I'm pleading with the people, help us. One man cannot do it. One church cannot do it. One family, cannot do it. But when we come together, we can do it. We can fight those beasts and expose them during the process. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to tell the people about what's going on. I'm trying to raise the funds for legal fees, and the legal fees are astronomical. Every month I need $10,000, $20,000 for the lawyer, and it's very, very difficult. And the wicked, the mafia knows it. They know that the process is the punishment. They will drag this. I was already told, I got a phone call from the government operative, the political fixer, and I was told, we'll drag this for 10 years. We will destroy you financially for daring to challenge us. And, but I'm still fighting. I truly believe that it's not a waste of money fighting for our rights, fighting for the future of our children, and exposing those people, because the court, especially a privately launched lawsuit, has enormous power to uncover things, to look under the stones, to let the public know what's going on. This way or that way, people will be able to see who is who in a zoo, who are the villains. And so that's what we're doing. I'm still entangled in a court. We're still fighting. And the latest news, my appeal was denied. I was denied an appeal by the Supreme Court of Canada. So I'm thinking of taking Canada to an international courts. um, so I don't know. We're still fighting. We're still doing our best, and we're pleading with the world and the American people so they would realize that Canada has fallen, and we need their support.
Wow, that's an amazing fight that you've been through there. You said 120 court cases. That's not 120 appearances. That's 120 separate cases, right?
As some of the court cases were as long as 3 weeks every day in a court. I spent millions of dollars, properties. I used to be a very successful businessman. We used to own houses and properties. I had to sell it all just to keep fetching the bill. I was charged over 360 times. I was charged with everything you can imagine. I was charged with stunting when I feed the poor. They said I am distracting motor vehicles. I was charged with offensive signage because we are Christians and our sign says Jesus loves you. I was charged $10,000 tickets for offensive signage. I was charged with placing material on the ground. When we feed the poor, we have the cross. The cross got thousands of dollars worth of tickets because they said it's a material on the ground. I mean, I was charged with feeding the poor. I was charged with disturbing peace because we are preaching. I was charged with use of amplification. I was charged with everything you can imagine. I was even charged. Are you ready? They have laws, and I was charged with those laws, giving free goods and services. I was charged for feeding the poor. I was charged for praying for people because the government in Calgary said that I am giving my services for free, and that's illegal. So when I pray for someone, I am rendering my services as a prayer, as a clergy, as a pastor for that person, and I just broke the law. Believe it or not, there is a law here that you're not allowed to distribute printed material. I know it's a shocker because most likely people will never face those laws because the government doesn't care about you. But they have the laws if they want to use it, and they used it against me. The distribution of printed material. I was charged for giving Bibles away and for giving gospel tracts away. Our church was raided by the police and the Bible services, raided, and my Bibles and gospel tracts were confiscated by the police, never given back to us. So this is what we're facing. It's a crazy thing. I just received a letter a few months ago from the city lawyer Colleen Sinclair. Here is the letter. And in the letter, she threatens me with another arrest. And she says, if I continue feeding the poor in front of City Hall in a protest of what the government is doing, I will be arrested with the contempt of court. And everyone that is with me, all the volunteers and the homeless, will be arrested as well. So, believe it or not, a crooked judge gave them that power that they can arrest Christians. So you've got Muslims yelling from the river to the sea, screaming bloody murder against the Jewish people, protected by the police and the government. You've got native displays right now for 3 years regarding the fake story of the children. Remember? So they have that display right now for 3 years, and they can do that. You've got Khalistani Indians, East Indians, protesting and having those big swords, walking around with swords, protected by the authorities. Nothing to see here. You got Ukrainians protesting, no problems. But Christians, if you dare to do it, we will arrest you and we will throw you in prison. Here is a bylaw. This is Municipal Complex Bylaw 38M 2012. For those that don't believe me, you can Google all of that stuff. You can find out for yourself. And the bylaw states clearly that we are not allowed to congregate and to oppose the government in front of City Hall. They have made a law telling you that you're not allowed to protest them, just like in China, just like in Soviet Russia. The government in Calgary says, no, you cannot protest. If you do, we will arrest you and we'll throw you in prison. So this is what we're facing. I mean, this is a crazy, crazy situation, but we are still fighting. Another pastor has been arrested. Multiple pastors were arrested. This one is still in prison. So we're doing church services outside of Remond because they are treating him poorly there and trying to bring an awareness of what's going on. But it's brutal. It's crazy. They're keeping him in prison. You know why? You know what his charge is? Attending a church service. They've arrested him because he is the whistleblower. His name is Derek Reimer. He's the whistleblower that exposed grooming of the children and pedophilia in Calgary. For that, he was assaulted. He had a 90 seconds conversation with the manager where the event was happening, dress up with toddlers and you know, drag queens or whatever they call themselves, those men, twisted men dressed as women. They were playing a dress up with children, which is a criminal offense. And Derek, you know, Derek showed that. He told the people what's really going on. For that, he was arrested and he was found guilty on harassment because he dared to talk to the manager of the library that event was going on. And when he attended during his court date, because he's appealing this, he stopped on the court's ground. We had a little church service for him. He attended that church service and he was arrested and breached on his probation. They waited for him during his visitation for the probation, which in Calgary the probation office is completely blanketed with the homosexual flags. So this is what we are facing right now. Canada has fallen. We're being ruled by pedophiles, crooks, corrupted politicians, corrupted judges, corrupted crown prosecutors, corrupted probation officers. They're promoting state ideology and hunting down those that dare to expose what's really going on. So he is rotting in prison a month right now, and they refuse his bail. And they are playing a game of, oh, we cannot meet this Friday. Oh, let's push it. Maybe next week. They don't even have a date at this moment for the trial. That's what we're facing right now in Alberta under the leadership of conservative government. And you don't have a better. You got a snake, a devil, a mafia man, Doug Ford in Ontario as well. So he's as wicked as our premier. I just today this morning I saw a picture with our devil and your devil walking together during one of the meetings. We are truly in trouble because the conservative governments are doing this to us, and they have nothing to do with the conservative views or moral standards. So, Christians, we must rise up. If you love this country, I want to plead with the patriots. You must rise up, stand up while you still have that window of opportunity, because I'm telling you, those wannabe pharaohs will never stop until you have nothing. And they're telling you this: you will own nothing and you will be happy. Your premier conflict of interest during the big lie, his company was printing all the signs that he implemented. So he implements law, and his company is being hired to print all of those things. Remember that? In Calgary, in Alberta, is the same thing. The premier just finished her multi-million dollar mansion in Costa Rica. So those people are, they are taking the funds, they're taking taxpayers' money, and they're allocating themselves in a places of escape. They are destroying our country, and they have a backup plan. So, do you have a backup plan? Because I'm telling you, they are all destroying this country, and they have a place to escape if something goes bad. But the rest of us, we're stuck here under the gun, fighting for our lives and for the future of our children.
What are some practical things that Canadians can do, or Americans, or whoever else that is concerned?
Well, first of all, support the fight. My brother David has this saying, and by the way, the whole family was targeted. My own brother David was arrested with me 13 times. My son, so our son Nathaniel, he was denied to study in Canada because of what we do. He wants to become a lawyer and fight the injustice, but he was denied um, his ability to finish school in Canada. He had to move to United States to finish law degree there, but he dared to testify uh, before the European Parliament about what was happening to his father. For that crime of telling the world what happened, he was already arrested 10 times. just for that. So they detain him and then they release him. They don't charge him, they just mess with him. They want to hurt the family. So they detain him. There is a warrant for your arrest, and then off you go. Next time, there is a warrant for your arrest. He gets arrested, let go. And then the next time, that happened to him already 10 times because he dared to testify before the European Parliament. So, remedy, how we can fix this? Well, the number one thing, we have to bring God back to this nation. This nation was built on the word of God. In parliament, you've got what, 25 verses on our parliament, on Peace Tower. Our national anthem is a prayer to God. God, you know, God hear our humble prayer, right? Uh, we, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is the highest law in the land, it has a preamble, whereas Canada acknowledges the supremacy of God and the rule of law. We need to bring God back to this nation. So that's the number one thing. Then my brother David has this saying, we are in the trenches. We are willing to fight for you, but you need to supply the bullets. We are shooting at the Germans, but we need you to back us up. We believe me, one family cannot do it. Even Donald Trump, as rich as the man is, as powerful as he is, he had to turn to the people to support him financially because his bills were in hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's the game. The game is to destroy you. The game is to make sure that you are not able to fight them. And that's what they're doing to us. So support us if you can. I mean, anything helps. A dollar here and a dollar there. Everyone can send something. Please help us out because if we are gone, why is this so important? Because if they will eliminate us, you are next. People do not recognize, they do not understand that we are standing in their way of going after the people. We are like a shield at this moment. We're the whistleblowers. We're fighting them. We're pushing. We're opposing them. But if we are gone, if they will manage to destroy us, they will come after you. That's not Artur Pawlowski speaking. That's history. History is teaching us that the first they eliminate political dissidents. Anyone that opposes them goes first, and then they go after the rest of the people. So do not allow them. Help us. Go to streetchurch.ca, streetchurch.ca, chip in a little bit. You know, if thousands of people would just give $5, hey, we got another few months of legal bills. It's not that difficult. It's not that big of a deal for people, but it is for us. And I'm turning always to the public. I say, like, how can I do this? I mean, I don't have billionaire friends that can fetch the bill. I'm just a little pastor from the province of Alberta that is feeding thousands of people. We're already stretched to the limit. If you want your liberties, if you want your, um, you know, future, a normal future for your children, support the fighters, support the soldiers, support the warriors that are willing to fight. I'm not afraid of the villains, but I need to have everything at my disposal to survive this attack on our liberties. So that's one thing. Second, share it. Share the story. Buy a book. I got only $2.50, I think, or $3 from the book. So it's not a big deal, but it adds up. The story gets out. People read the story, and they will, by reading this book, you will understand why I am so passionate to fight, because there is nowhere to run, my friends. The whole world went nuts. Where are you going to escape? There's nowhere to go. The globalists want to take over the whole earth, so we must fight here. I could escape communism from Poland, from behind the Iron Curtain, and I came to Canada. Where are we going to escape now? Where are we going to go? They are taking over the whole globe. So fight. Let's fight for our beloved Canada. Get the book, Lions Do Not Bow, Amazon.ca for Canadians, Amazon.com for the world. Also, share the podcast, share our channels. We're all over the news, but we are shadow banned like crazy. It's so hard for me to communicate the message about what's going on, especially now what is happening with Derek Reimer, because they're shadow banning us, those devils. They are doing everything in their power that the people would not know what's going on. When I was in the business, we had this famous saying that information is more powerful, is more valuable than money. Why? Because if you have the right information, making money it's easy. If you know where to invest, if you know what to buy. So we are fighting in Canada right now for information. So share the podcast, share the sermons, share what we're doing, and support us. So that's another thing. Also, you can do something yourself. You can get involved in your local community. Don't just sit and wait for the Nazis and the communists to take over, because sooner or later, if not you, your children will face the oppression. Your grandchildren will face the oppression. Believe a man that grew up in hell. The hell always touches everything in your life. Hell is not just confined to a little thing in a community. Hell wants to take over everything. And you will be hurting, and your children and their children will be hurting if we will not come together. If you're in the province of Alberta, I've created a political party, Solidarity Movement of Alberta. Come and join us. Come and join the movement, or invite us to speak and to tell you what's going on in town hall meetings or in churches. That's what I do. I travel a lot and I educate people on communism and socialism. That's what I was doing in the States. I was educating a Republican Party what is communism and socialism and why they should rise up and fight it. Because people have no clue. They don't understand what they're, oh no, it's not that bad. Listen, it's hell. You don't get it because you never faced it. You don't understand what I'm saying. When you stand in a lineup for 3 days to buy 1 kilo of coffee, you go to your Tim Hortons, you've got, your Starbucks, and you don't even think about it. I'm telling you, communism and socialism and any form of totalitarianism is hell. You may not be scared yet because you have never tasted. I'm telling you, it's hell. So help us to fight this hell, or else you will pay if you will not do something. So do something. Everyone can do little. Everyone. You don't want to be in the trenches. You don't want to be hunted down like Artur Pawlowski. I get that. I understand. You don't want to be arrested. You don't want to, face millions of dollars worth of legal fees. I understand that. So support me while I still am able to stand and fight in your behalf. And I was built, I guess, in a different way. I'm a very stubborn man. I have very little fear, put it this way. I'm not afraid of those people. And they've done everything, stripped naked in front of men and women, and solitary confinement, concrete cells. I was tortured by the police. I was in metal cages. I was in psych ward. I was in max. I faced all of those things, and I'm still fighting for you. And they have not subdued me. They have not scared me. So God wired me in this way. I know that my God is bigger than all of those villains combined together. I know how the story ends. And the title of my book? It's Lions Do Not Bow. Lions do not bow before the hyenas. Why? I remember we built orphanages in Africa. So I used to go to Africa. We used to do a lots of things around the world. I started over 40 churches in different parts of the world. And also in Africa, we started multiple churches and orphanages in Kenya. And I remember every time I would go there, I always made sure that we have a day, 2 or 3, to just calm down, because the crusades in Africa are crazy. It's a very, the poverty and the evil, and it takes a toll on you. So before we were coming back to Canada, I always said, let's go a few days and spend some time in the nature, in a safari. And I was able, I was privileged to watch lions. And I'm telling you, lions are incredible. They know who they are. And the moment a lion or a lioness comes, even the birds stop chirping, and the monkeys stop playing, and it's like the whole nature realizes the king showed up. It's like the majesty, and and they know who they are. They don't bow to no one. They know that they are the kings of the jungle, and they are not the most. They're not the strongest. They're powerful, but they're not the strongest in the jungle, and yet they know who they are, and they walk with this understanding. They walk with this majesty. I'm telling you, it's an incredible feeling when you're so close to the lions. I mean, so close, and you can observe them and see them, how they act and how they walk and how they even sleep with this, like, I own the joint, if you know what I mean. It's incredible. And I remember God spoke to me during that time when I was observing the lions, and he says, I want you to be like them. I want you to walk with your head high. You're not a victim. You are a victor, because everyone that is with me is a victor, not a victim. Know who your God is, how powerful your God is, how amazing He is. He died for you on the cross. He rose from the grave. He is Alpha and Omega. He's the beginning and the end. He's the creator of everything, including the villains. They wake up in the morning and they're alive because God allows them to be alive for a purpose, which sometimes we don't understand. I don't know why God created cockroaches and rats and mosquitoes and ticks and, politics. I don't know why the ticks are around sucking the blood out of us, but He knows, and that should be good enough for us. In the end of the day, justice will be served. God is a judge of judges. Every man will face Him one day. Every man will give an account for all the evil they have done. Also, you got to know who you are in God, that you're a son of the Most High God, that God is for you, not against you. Greater is He that is in you than the one that is in the villains. So know who you are, know who your God is. When you have that knowledge in your heart, you will walk like a lion. That's why lions do not bow before the hyenas. Good man refuses to bow before a wicked man.
We have somebody in the live chat that asks, "How do I donate?" I think what I'll do is I'll share my screen. You said streetchurch.ca, so I'm going to just share my screen here. And
Yeah, streetchurch.ca is the easiest, and it's a secure transaction.
so you go to
Pay,
donate, right?
yeah,
Street.
and yeah,
Okay.
go down, and you see donate. You can put your own amount. It says 50 here. You can put whatever, $5, or whatever you want. Also, because of the 21st century, you can even donate using crypto if you want. If that's what God puts on your heart, you can donate doing this. Also, there is buy me a coffee. That's another secure transaction. You scan this and will take you to a Square, and that's a very secure transaction. You can use your cards. Also, if you are in Canada, you can do it directly by e-transfer, which again is the most secure transaction. ART at streetchurch.ca. ART at streetchurch.ca, and you can e-transfer as well, and all of that comes directly to one pile, and then it's being allocated where it's needed. The sales of the book, I've donated everything back to the church because I believe in this fight. I believe, you see, maybe if I was alone, maybe if I was just by myself, maybe I will not be as loud and eager to risk my life on a regular basis and be harassed and tortured and imprisoned. But I have three children. I have three children, and I love my children. I would die for my children. And what kind of a future they're going to have if we, the parents, the fathers, and the grandparents, will not stand up today? You see, we have been given a choice. We can pretend we see nothing, we hear nothing, therefore we will not say anything, like the three famous monkeys. Or we can be as loud as we can be right now, with a realization that the future of our children depends on what we are going to do today. Our children are worth fighting for. Their children, their children are worth fighting for. What kind of a nation we're going to pass to the next generation? Today, you and me, we're making that decision every single day. That's why I am still in the fight. I had offers of millions of dollars to stop doing what I'm doing. I was offered to pastor a big mega church in United States of America. They love me there. They wanted me to move to the States, and I refused. They offered to relocate my whole family, paid for. I was offered a ranch just to move to United States. But if all of us will move, if all the fighters will move, who is going to fight? So we had to make a decision with my wife. Okay, it would be maybe easier for us or more beneficial if it comes to money for us to move to the States. And we are very loved over there and accepted. And I got invitations all over the United States to go and preach and speak. However, if we go and everyone that is engaged in the fight will go, then we're throwing a towel. And I'm a fighter. I was a professional boxer when I was a lot younger. I was a martial art teacher. And the one thing I learned during all those years is that as long as you are in the ring, there is hope. As long as you are not throwing a towel, you can still win. That's why I am still in the ring fighting, because I believe that one day the truth will set the captives free, that one day people's eyes will be open and they will realize what I was trying to tell them. All me yelling, Nazis, Gestapo. And by the way, Gestapo simply means political police. All of me trying to visually show you what's going on, calling them communists and socialists and exposing the political liars and manipulators, and bad actors. All of that, I did it and I'm still doing it for one simple purpose: to awaken the people, to show you, listen, pay attention to what's going on, listen to the immigrants, because we have been there. You don't want to go there. Believe me, trust me. If you talk to immigrants that escaped like me, all of them will say the same thing to you, because I meet them on a regular basis. It's bad. It's really bad, and Canadians are asleep. It's really bad. That's how Venezuela has fallen. Listen, one of the richest nations on earth, literally sleeping on oil, has become one of the worst on earth because of what the government did. Not what people were doing, the government did it. That's the same thing is happening right now to Canada. Government is your worst enemy at this moment. The government wants you enslaved. The government is coming after your property. The government is coming after your bank accounts. The government is coming after your houses. Are you listening? Are you paying attention? They're not just coming after your freedom, they're coming after the inheritance that you want to leave for your children. They're coming after everything. They're creating two categories of people. They're eliminating the middle class. They're creating the rich, the powerful, the elites, the ones that go to Davos with the private jets, over 1,000 of them, telling you that you should walk because of carbon, that you should ride a bicycle. Those are the same people. They're coming after you. And then the second category is the ones that are enslaved, those that cannot even afford to have a house. That's what is happening. Alberta, so Canada, is in the worst shape within the G7 countries economically. I don't know if you know that. But Alberta is the worst, in a worst economical shape within the Confederation. Albertans, with the conservative so called government under Daniel Smith, we are the number one if it comes to defaulting on credit cards. Did you know that? And yet, we are sleeping on oil. We have more oil than Saudi Arabia. If I was the premier of Alberta, I would be digging all of that out and I would turn our province into the richest province on earth per capita. We have trillions of dollars in natural resources. We have bad government. We have a wicked, evil government. And even though the government will tell you what you want to hear, and sometimes they sound so good, sometimes they even do something good. But they will do one good and 10 things bad. And people are focusing on the one good and they are trying to ignore the 10 that are bad. Person like me, I want to tell you the whole truth. the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want you to understand what is really happening because I've seen it growing up behind the Iron Curtain. So that's why I couldn't take the deal from the judge. That's why I refuse all the perks coming from Daniel Smith, all the briberies, attempted briberies of me becoming an MLA and government job and millions of dollars in bribery. I couldn't take it because I'm not doing, Artur Pawlowski is not doing this so I can be rich. I'm doing this for the future of my children. I don't know if you can understand this, but I love my children. And even if I take millions of dollars, what I'm going to create right now, a hell for them? What is money if you are living in hell? If you have no freedom, if you cannot even worship your God, what is money then? Then you're living in a golden cage. You're a slave with money. I don't want to be a slave with money. I prefer not to have money, but remain a free man.
What do you think is behind all of the persecution? Like the root of it all? Like they pretty much charge you with everything, right? Like everything you do is illegal. What's behind all of that?
Well, every totalitarian regime is afraid of those that they cannot either scare or buy. What we are witnessing right now is that those wannabe pharaohs or Caligulas, as we call him, the son of the Castro, we call him Caligula. Um, what they want is control. They hate competition in a way. So God, or those that are actually trusting God and believing God, are very dangerous to those people because why? Because you cannot scare them and you cannot control them and you cannot bribe them. A man that is not for sale is the most dangerous for a totalitarian regime. A man that cannot be bought and cannot be scared, they're terrified of. That's why they are scared of Donald Trump because look at this guy. The guy is crazy rich. So they've tried to destroy him economically, but the guy is getting richer and richer by the minute. Like, I mean, he's a I think he was worth $8 million at some point because I was paying attention because we know Trump's family and I was invited to his house. I was actually a guest speaker in Mar-a-Lago. So I was paying attention to how they were dealing with him. And every time they unleashed hell on his finances, he turned to the people and the people chipped in. So he was able to survive this and grew even stronger. So that didn't work. Then they were doing the same thing to him, what they're doing to me. Charge, 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 charge the guy, fake this, fake accusations, rape, muddy the waters. Why they're muddying the waters? Because they want to cut off the supplies. If they muddy the waters, then most likely more people will stop donating, more people will stop supporting him, and eventually they will be able to destroy him. But that didn't work because he was able to tell the people the truth, and the people realized that they were being played by the establishment, by the globalists. Also, um, they are scared of him because he tells the people the truth without being afraid to tell that truth. And sometimes that truth is a shocking truth. Sometimes that truth is not politically correct. Sometimes, actually, most of the time, the way he articulates what he sees is like a shocker. It's like a wave. It's like a tsunami, like a tornado, right? Because the way he says things, it's so black and white. It's in your face. It's like boom, boom, boom. And people are like, what just happened? So they hate that because they're not used to a man that tells it the way it is. What you're observing in the political realm is a political theater. They are learning the script and they're giving you the script. It's not what they believe, it's not what they do, is what they want you to think that they do. It's a it's like a Hollywood production that you're an actor and you're learning the script and you're just giving it during the show. That's the politics of the 21st century, or maybe it was always like that. But Donald Trump is a man that says it in the most brutal way, the way he sees it, the way he believes it. They hate that because they cannot control him. Also, everything he does is in front of cameras. So he's letting people know how he feels, what he's doing, how he's doing it, what is the reasoning behind. And the people love it because suddenly they have a man that is not thinking they're stupid and he's just playing them. He's inviting them to participate in what he's doing. They suddenly become part of reawakening or making America great again, if you will. They feel included because what we have right now is politicians that go on television and they say Canadians want this, Canadians want that, we represent Canada. No, they're not representing you. They are the mafia. They are representing only themselves, right? That's why they run away from independent journalists. That's why they don't want to be accountable. There are no checks and balances. That's why they're excluding independent journalists from different events because they don't want the people to know who they really are. But Donald Trump is doing opposite. He's including the people. He's showing them what's really going on. And that's brilliant. That's amazing. People are thirsty for the real deal. Deep inside, they want someone, a champion that will fight for them. Deep inside, they want the real deal because they're sick and tired of the fake. And the fake always hates the real. So, answering your question is there are a number of things. They are terrified of those that cannot bribe, buy. They are terrified of those that are brave and bold. They are scared of those that speak the truth, black and white, and they are willing to face the opposition in front of the cameras. And they are willing to pay the price because there are lots of people are willing to go as far as saying something, but they don't want to pay the price. But if you are a man like Donald Trump or others that is willing to go to jail, is willing to be imprisoned, is willing to pay the price, well, then you've got a champion. You've got David against Goliath. You've got someone that is willing to tackle this enormous corruption. That terrifies them. That terrifies them. They're scared. They don't know what to do. They're puzzled because in their world, everyone is for sale, right? They're bribing each other left and right. In their world, you can blackmail someone because everyone has a dirt, right? They're blackmailing. For example, Pierre Polyev, and this is a real story from an insider, a member of parliament that was told allegedly, put it this way, as a disclaimer. He went to China, and when he came back, he was a different man. He did something in China that compromised his integrity. Now the Chinese have something on him. I don't know, maybe sexual or whatever it happened. We don't know. The Chinese know. But Pierre Polyev is a different man since he came from China. Well, that's why, because they have something. They got goods on him. But what if there is a politician, a man that has no dirt, that there are no skeletons in the closet, that they were digging and digging, like on me, they were digging and digging and digging and digging for 25 years. They're trying to find dirt on me. And you know what they came with? It's so crazy funny in a way. They accused me of kidnapping my wife when she was 7 years old. So that was the official story that everyone ran, that I kidnapped my wife. Well, the, the thing is that we are the same age. My wife was born 1973, just like me. We're the same age. We've met for the first time when I was already 20. We are 6 months apart. And in March, and she was 19 and a half. I was at her 20th birthday. We're the same age. And yet the story circulated for a few years that I kidnapped my wife. And the funny part of the story is that I kidnapped her from her father's house, but my wife was born in prison. My Her mom, so my mother-in-law, she forged documents under communism to escape. She wanted to escape hell, and she wanted to use a fake passport to go to Berlin, to the other side, to the west. And many people escaped. And if I could, I would escape earlier, but we eventually escaped in 1990. My father escaped a year before. So my mother-in-law wanted to escape. She made a mistake. She went to say goodbye to her best friend, and the best friend called the authorities. She was arrested while she was pregnant with my wife. So my wife was born in a communist prison, and she never met her father, her real father, until she was already an adult. But the official story went, I kidnapped my wife from her father's house, which she never met, and I confined her, I think was the story. I kept her, kidnapped her and kept her for many years until she became my wife. And they come with this ridiculous, crazy things because there's nothing else. There's nothing else. I live stream my stuff. I pay my taxes. I don't like paying my taxes, but I do. It's a system that we are in, and I don't have a choice, so I do pay. Everything is black and white, and all the activities I do is live streamed and recorded. I don't hide. All it's in a book. If you really want to see juicy stuff and my accusations, I'm doing it publicly. Why am I doing this publicly, Christopher? Because it's the truth. That's why. I'm not ashamed to tell you that Stephen Johnston, the Crown prosecutor, is a liar. He's a Why am I not being sued by those people? Because they know I have the truth. They know that I have the goods that they lied during the proceedings, black and white, court transcripts, them lying and manipulating to the judges. They know that. They know that. They know that I'm not making stuff up. My allegations, I encourage people to read my, here, it's legal fight. It says legal fight. You can click on that, and there is my lawsuit. I remember the first time I read it, like my hair stood up, and like, my God, this guy went through hell back and forth. Because sometimes you detach yourself from what happened to you. And the allegations are absolute insane. When my lawyers spent 3 months putting the allegations together, I didn't realize how many bad things happened to me in a very short period of time. Because when you go through this, you don't want to dwell on poor me, I'm a victim, look what they've done to me, right? You move on. You don't dwell on the past. You grab the sword and the horse, and you go off the battle. You don't like, oh, poor me, I'm depressed right now because of what they did to me. No, I'm not depressed. I'm a happy camper, if it comes to my life. But I'm a warrior and I'm a fighter, and I want to fight this great injustice. And the only way I can do it is by suing them, by bringing this whole case before the public eyes. And that's what I'm doing right now. Every step of the way, public will know who did this to us, who was responsible, which politician was sending the Gestapo, the political police, to hunt us down. That's why. That's why the establishment is terrified of people like me, because not only they tried to break me, I wrote a book about it, and I'm writing another one because it's not over. It's to be continued. So I was approached by a few people that want to turn this into a movie, this whole story, because it is a crazy story, and it's a fast forward, um, like a Hollywood, criminal story, action movie, if you will, with all the arrests and the craziness that happened. So I have no intention of stopping. I believe that Canadians deserve to know this whole truth, and I'm fighting for the future of my children.
That's amazing. So, those who are listening live, if you have any questions, drop those in the live chat. Pastor Artur, I can't help but think of you probably heard of Linda Gibbons. Have you heard of her?
Not only I've heard about her, she's my personal hero and a friend, and I white-hatted her when she came to Alberta. We white-hatted her. White hatting in Calgary is like giving honor. It's like the highest honor we can give as a community is give a person a white hat, and that's what we did. She opened March for Jesus. We're doing marches for Jesus every year, Father's Day, and it's fascinating because it's a G7, and G7 is happening in 2 weeks during the March for Jesus. We are doing March for Jesus in Calgary, where all the leaders are coming to Calgary as well to have their G7. So we're very excited about this because we're going to be praying, and we'll see what happens. So Linda Gibbons is a hero that stood for the unborn, and because of it, she spent many years in prison because every time she would be released, she would go outside the abortion clinic and she would do her best to rescue slaughtered children. And for that crime, she would be arrested again and imprisoned again. And sometimes for years, she would be in prison. She had a protege, Mary Wagner. I don't know what happened to her at this moment, but I am aware, of course, of Linda Gibbons.
Yeah, amazing story. Wow. All right. Well, one more time here for those who are listening, to support Pastor Artur's work and fight. I'm going to share my screen here again. You go to streetchurch.ca and then click on donate. You have the all of the information there. You can donate through many different ways, and you got all the list of that would be the cryptocurrency and everything there that you can donate through. So I encourage everyone. I think everyone listening to this live stream should go and give something. This is an amazing work that Pastor Artur is doing.
And you know, if people have a hard time to support the legal fight, which I would not understand why they would have a problem with that, or the political realm, remember that we feed thousands of people, the most vulnerable people that no one else wants to even spit at. We are taking care of those that no one else is taking care of. 3 times a week, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, we go to the streets and we fight for people's lives. So you can help us doing this as well, because again, it's truckloads of food that is being given to the people, families, single moms with children, elderly. So that's what we do. That's our passion. And all the troubles that came our way, they came from that during the earlier days or during the big fat lie of the past 5 years. Our ministry, the soup kitchen, was targeted, and it created additional problems for me. So the enemy hates when the church is actually doing what the church is supposed to be doing. They just hate it with a passion.
Yeah, we have a few messages here in the live chat. Let me see here. We have Chipmunk says, "Thank you so much, Artur. All who fight the good fight, we all play a part. Um, seek the Lord as well." Or, excuse me. Happy Mess says, "What about all the stuff happening socially? Women are scared to go outside in some places."
Well, that's what happens when a nation kicks God out and replaces him with the devil. Then you've got terror, you've got fear. I remember when I came to this country in 1995, Calgary was one of the safest cities in the country. But this city actively was doing and still doing everything in their power to remove God and Jesus. Well, you replace God with Satan, what do you will have? You will have bloodshed, you will have terror, you will have rapes, you will replace good people with people that hate you. And that's exactly what Canada is doing. Canada is murdering children that will love this country and is replacing those children with your worst enemies that actually hate democracy. They hate you, they hate your way of life. And that's what is happening. It has been happening for a few decades now. It's a replacement thing. They're replacing good, God fearing people with evil people, haters. I was told yesterday, 2 days ago, I was told that in Toronto, there are parts of the city that already have Sharia law implemented. That there are certain parts of Toronto that people are afraid to go to. And England, of course, London is a perfect example. They have an entire neighborhoods that is being run by Sharia law.
Right. Mewa says, "What an experience!" And and thank you, brother. What is thank you, brother? He says, "Seek the Lord," says Brother Artur. "I will buy your book. Please visit us often." And I second that motion for sure. Seek the Lord also says, Brother Artur, "I hope you will be a frequent visitor on this channel." Chipmunk says, "Amen made me cry. Our God is more amazing than we can comprehend. I've been saying it for years. People ignore what's available now and will scream in frustration when the word is attacked." Seek the Lord quoted Matthew 10:16, "I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves." And again, Seek the Lord quoted Isaiah 6:8. "Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go out for us? Then said I, Here am I, send me." Chipmunk says, "Amazing testimonies. May God look over you and protect you in all ways the enemy is dumbfounded on. Thank you for fighting the good fight. May we all have the courage of a lion, the truth of the Lord, and the passion to stand on the rock." Happy Mess says, "Yes," and "Wow, thank you." And Chipmunk also says, "Yes, would love to see you again." Yeah.
Man, I want the people to understand something, that when I'm sharing the story, I mean, they've done everything at their disposal, including trying to murder us and multiple times. But this is not the story of look what the enemy has done against this man and his family. No, this is a story. Look what the mighty things the Lord has done for me and my family and the church. Because in the end of the day, you, I'm on your show and I know who I am. I know how powerful my God is. And I know that we win in the end. I've read the Bible many, many times, and I know how the story ends. So sometimes you go through the valley of the shadow of death, but you will fear no evil because God is there with us. Sometimes you go through difficulties, but that's the key. You go through those difficulties knowing that the victory is already secured for you. The only thing you need to do is show up. God is telling you and me, He says, show up for the battlefield. I will guarantee you the victory, but I want you to come. I want you to participate. I want you to be part of it. Don't just sit and pretend I see nothing, I hear nothing. I won't say anything. Participate, become part of the fight, knowing that we have already won. The enemy just doesn't know it yet.
All right. I hardly ever say something like those who really know me and those who know what we do here on the live streams. You know that I don't think I've ever said this about anybody else, but I really urge everyone within the sound of my voice and those who will be listening to the clips and the live replays, because this will be available as a live replay afterwards. I urge you all to do whatever you can to support Pastor Artur. I think it's just an amazing work. Chipmunk says, "We go through these things to prepare for what is coming. It brings glory to God. The enemy we'll see one day and seek the Lord. Says, Brother Artur, you are a battle-hardened warrior. Praise God, and may he bless you richly and abundantly. Amen to that. Amen to that. All right. Well, excuse me. So, yeah. So I'm gonna wrap it up with that, Pastor Artur. I thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing what God has put on your heart to share, and the things that you've been through. It's just been absolutely amazing. I just like the rest of the people here. I hope, Lord willing, we'll see you again here on the live stream, and we'll continue fighting the fight there, brother.
Yeah, sure. Let me know when. There's so much more. I mean, I just wanted to share my story a little bit of what happened, but God has been speaking to me about what's coming, about Goshen, about the Red Sea moment, economical collapse, famine, window of opportunities, and all kinds of different things that are coming because He's preparing the remnant. He's preparing His church. He told me about the separation between the real and the fake, the goats and the sheep and the wolves, the fake shepherds, and what is coming, what is happening, how he's going to be protecting and providing for his people. There's so much things that God is telling us in this season, that if you want, let me know, and I'll gladly share it with the people. How can they protect themselves? What they should do for what's coming, and what's coming is going to be so severe that it's going to shake everyone. And God wants His children to be well, not only aware of what's coming, but well protected and provided for. So, yeah, let me know, and I'll gladly come back and tell the people what is brewing, what is happening.
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, brother. It has been an honor and a privilege to have you. One more time, everyone, streetchurch.ca. Donate to, just click on that donate tab and do whatever you can, as well as buy Pastor Artur's book on Amazon. Pastor Artur said it's available on Amazon.com as well as Amazon.ca. So go over there and make sure you buy that book. And yeah, Lord willing, we'll have you back there, Pastor Artur.
Thank you so much, Christopher.
Thank you. God bless you abundantly. Amen. Amen. All right, folks. Blessings. As I always say, I pray that keep on calling on Him, keep on calling on God, and He will show you great and mighty things. And love you guys. Good health, long life to you all. And as I always pray over everyone, that the Lord bless you and keep you, make His face to shine upon you, lift up His countenance upon you, and give you wonderful, wonderful shalom, that peace. Amen, amen. Okay, guys, thanks.